No.
Okay, pursuant to the topics that Navneet was touching on, it turns out, just by a completely happy accident, it looks like the co-op structure provides an additional assurance against the RCoin being considered a security if we structure it along the lines of the REI membership. So in REI, you pay $20, you become a member. And then at the end of the year, based upon your purchases, you get a rebate, right? So now let's consider this in the case of RChain Co-op. So what you do is you buy in, but the number of transactions that you've run against the RChain itself can be measured, and at the end of the year, you get a rebate in RCoins on the transactions you've run against the machine. And now, and RChain in that way can be completely for profit, and yet still protect the commons, right? Because anyone can become a member. You just pay to become a member, right? And then it works almost exactly as REI, and this represents the fourth argument against the RCoin as a security. So and if we then maintain the one member, one vote, and we are transparent about all of the accounting, right, so that it's clear that there, like if there's any abuse of the fee structure, then the community can respond. How do they respond? Well, they respond by becoming members, right? And adjusting the decisions with respect to the fee structures. So it seems to me that it can still be for profit, protect all of the things that it's designed to protect, and at the same time provide a model for the distribution of RCoins with respect to rebates that further shores up the argument that RCoin is not a security. This feels like a very winning combination. When I was talking with Chris Padova, we were both like shaking our heads going, wow, this is like crazy how well this all fits. He was incredibly excited and enthusiastic. It was like, wow, this is new law. I'm going to have to go look at this, but this looks like it all holds together. So I was very enthusiastic, and I'd love to get people's response.
Yeah, I love it too, especially if the rebates were sort of in the form of a convertible coupon that could be used later. That also avoids some treating it as money issue. So the KYC comes into play if you're giving money to a person, right? So if you're giving a coupon, maybe that's better.
Well, but you're not giving money; you're giving RCoin. You're giving a token.
Yes, I understand, but that depends on the how that's valued. I'm not an attorney on security and money laws, but anyway, then the other idea was that this whole rebate structure could just be yet another smart contract, and it could be automated in that fashion.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
I also had, I'm not sure how crazy an idea it is, but instead of the fees being collected by the co-op, membership fees, you could use fees to kind of drive monetary policy as well. So instead of collecting fees, you could burn the fees in order to to have some kind of deflationary effect on the currency.
Yeah.
Oh, that's also correct. So that's a lever that you don't have to exercise it all the time, or there's a lot of leeway in terms of how you pull that lever. So yeah, agreed.
I worked for a manufacturer, and just the nature of some of the original equipment manufacturers and the big consolidations on the corporate side, the third generation businesses didn't have the purchasing power, and over time they had to unite and coalesce to create that purchasing power in order to compete. And I started seeing the emergence of buying groups, and you guys had some very incredible structures that got them to grow their membership over the years through the incentives that they offered to their members. But it became the point where they had to pay in quite a bit of money initially. But what it meant was they didn't see the reward until like 3 years later, and then they had a lot of privileges as members down the road. But what it meant was they stuck around because of those incentives, and it never dropped off because of what they were getting 3 years down the road. And they were smart and wise to stay in and continue paying their membership because it meant so much to them. And as a result, they kept growing and growing. And the one example that I remember was the CEO of the company holding up a great big check for his employees. And they had like 18 branches. They were one of the members, but he had a $500,000 check, and he was awarding that to his employees as it was a year-end incentive that they got from their buying group. And he put that all into their retirement packages where he could have gone and bought a yacht or another house. So that was kind of cool to see how a $500,000 check came back through an incentive program from the buying group. And it was just a decent model.
Yeah, good. That seems to fit well with the kind of sentiment being captured by this mechanism as well. Yeah.
Right. So I think if you look at the credit union, right? So credit union is a prime example. They are not co-op per se, but their ethos is the same, helping people who do not qualify for banking, or they, the regular banking do not want to bank with, people.
Fantastic. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's another good model. The other encouraging thing that I heard from Chris is that the filing fees are actually quite nominal, and he mentioned that he could help with getting the legwork done, but he's not registered in Washington State, and so that would be we'd have to find a Washington State lawyer to kind of take it the last mile. And it looks like there's some members in the community who could fit that bill if they were interested.
Yeah, I'll talk to somebody this afternoon about that very topic.
Exactly. The other thing that's kind of interesting is that, so let me list out the 4 arguments for the record. So argument number 1 is the RCoin token has utility on the RCoin virtual machine. So in order to run the machine, you need a coin. And the reason that structure exists is to prevent denial of service attacks against the network. So it's an economic security measure. So that's like the numero uno reason. Number 2, the question, it turns out that there are contracts that we want to enable, namely the contracts around the attention economy that principally run upon the RCoin, right? So the RCoin is there to create this ecosystem of the attention economy. It's different within the conceptualization of RChain, but essentially it creates the attention economy, and so that's the only thing, that's the only coin that's enabled by the attention economy, or enables the attention economy. So it has a second order utility from the utility for the virtual machine. So that's argument number 2. Argument number 3 is the precedence from REI, right? So REI has gotten around their membership being a security precisely by this rebate mechanism, and the fact that you can't sell a membership. So that would be one thing that we have to be careful about, or safeguard against, is not being able to transfer or sell your membership. So that's where the KYC might come back in, is in preventing that, right? So if you could potentially sell your REI membership, but if REI discovers this, then you, by the terms of the membership, you are banned from getting the rebates. You're no longer eligible for the rebates. So that's argument number 3, which is good because this is quite interesting. So argument number 4 is the comic shop argument. or the comic book argument. So, and it's funny, I came upon this completely independently. I didn't realize that there was legal precedent here. But basically, the idea is a comic vendor, can claim that they make comics because people, find them beautiful and they like to read them. They find them intriguing, not for the purposes of collecting and trading, right? And they can't help, they can't prevent people down the road from collecting and trading the comics, right? That's a separate thing that's outside the sphere of their control, and that's the case here with the RChain. If people speculate on RChain, we can't control that, right? It's the nature of the technology that enables them to speculate and trade, but it's not the intention of RChain. Now, the interesting thing is that the comic book trading argument was made in the Ninth Circuit, essentially the Washington the area. So having the company be a Washington State co-op turns out to legally fit together. So this is, all of this stuff seems to fit together in a very nice package. I'm very happy about that. So any other thoughts, questions, comments, feelings about this stuff?
I was going to suggest maybe that it seems like because of the identity, one member, one vote issue, the way that RChain account holders are identified as members should be separated somehow, I think, from like the fact that those tokens, that membership can't be bought and sold. I was wondering if we could use maybe a kind of a property on the account which indicates membership. So you have, accounts can be differentiated by some kind of property or some kind of flag, whereby you can tell, just like maybe you have, like a system account and a real person account. You could have a member kind of account.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I don't have a good technical argument here, because there is no, this is a decentralized service, right? I don't have I don't quite yet know how to make that work, but let's keep thinking about it. I mean, I'm actually worried about, the identity here is going to be an interesting one. I mean, if you think about it, both Ethereum and Bitcoin, they jettison the relationship of the address to an entity.
Yeah, there may be other ways to thwart spamming. A lot of applications, validate who you are by your phone number, and a lot of people don't have multiple phone numbers. Or you could do that plus GPS location, hashed, or all kinds of other ways, so that at least it can't be gamed quite as much. But it's very hard to stop the gaming. Ian?
So I mean, one possibility would be some kind of identity escrow, right, where you don't necessarily reveal your identity, but if there ever would come into question, right? So there would still have to be some kind of trusted third party here, but you don't reveal your identity, unless there comes any sort of question about is the entity exercising the membership the entity that registered as the member, right? And if there was such, then you could go back through some kind of escrow service to reveal portions. You could play a game to reveal portions of the identity to prove that this was in fact the member. But again,
there is a community project for Bring Your Own Identity, which is moving to the RChain. Sorry about that.
No worries, Jim. No, I definitely want to include the thinking there in terms of how to if we can leverage some of that thinking for the issue of membership, that would be good. Okay.
Now, are you expecting that every member of the community will be a member of the co-op?
No, not necessarily. But what I want it to be is the case is that membership. You know, you can become a member at any time. That's what I think is the useful thing is like you know, at any point you can. Oh, Henning, hang on a second. Henning.
So, you know, until Greg comes back, I just want to say about one thing. You know, one membership, one vote. You know, also, suppose I'll give you one example. You know, somebody has a company and there are a bunch of investors and they invested in RChain or they want a membership. And all these people, they delegate their, you know, voting authority to a, you know, this membership company. And then would you want to treat them as a one vote or multiple votes? You know, that's another question in the same equation.
Hello, guys. Here's Henning Diedrich.
Hi, Henning.
Hello.
Ed, can you say something? I want to make sure that we can hear you.
Hi, Henning.
Okay.
Hey. See you.
So, Henning, did you want to talk a little bit about your matrix for evaluating chains?
Is of any interest? So, yeah, we had a lot of fun filling out 90 questions regarding RChain that I have compiled in the beginning. Actually, when I was still at IBM, to compare Ethereum and Hyperledger and make the case why in our project we couldn't use Hyperledger. So I go a little deeper and explain a couple of technical aspects about the differences between the two. And in the moment, I'm using that as a basis to, and expanded that for a European Union job where I'm evaluating different blockchains and look at if one of the blockchain technologies could be used to create a system that basically helps the European Commission to have an evaluation about the health of banks. Something like 2008 cannot happen again. Would be a mirror of basically all credit contracts between all the banks in the European Union. It doesn't have double spend necessity. It would be using smart contracts to have a way to express and go with the development, the dynamics of a credit contract depending on market.
They're getting ambient noise, so I'm going to plug you in. It's fine. You take that. Okay, sounds good.
So yeah, so at the moment, maximum I'm going to have 30 blockchains and 90 questions.
So can I show them? Just like do a screen share?
Somebody is speaking, or are you listening to?
Is somebody speaking? Hello?
We hear you.
We're waiting.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to do a screen share. Let me just grab the... so you sent it. I think this is it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent work, you know, what you are doing.
Yeah, and we went through this, and it's basically, at the moment, we would have like 2,800 cells. And it was actually quite interesting because I felt I learned more by asking Greg these questions than I had learned before from just talking about Rho and RChain, because some of the questions are more related. It's even interesting to see what questions cannot be answered because they do not apply. And it's also interesting to see certain symmetries that appear because it makes very clear what the reason is why some of the blockchains exist, where they have a lot of checks because they're good at something, and then where they're sacrificing some other things where they got a lot of process, and how that sometimes even gives a little bit of a pattern. So yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, no, I think the one thing that really I thought was useful was that the matrix was blank when it came to formal methods and formal verification.
Right.
So we added that to the whole mix. So I thought that was really valuable. And as you can see, we're kind of we're in the mix now. RChain is here along with RChain DB and Lightning and Zcash and Bitcoin and Ethereum and Polkadot and all these others. So maybe we're just a.
This is as far as I got, as you can see.
That's a lot of work, dude. That's a ton of work.
Yeah,
that's great. So Henning, I think we pointed you at the 0.8 version of the RChain architecture document, and Joe and Greg and I and Navneet are working on a revision to the architecture document. Right now, it's kind of in the process of being refactored, but we can point you at that as well. But just realize it's evolving. So I don't know which one you want.
But we'll share with you because we did something similar, although it's a lot smaller than the one you've got now.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
And also, if your matrix has, here we go. So if your matrix has particular things that you would like to see in this matrix that Greg's going to scroll to, we can expand this version.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm stoked. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
So we were evaluating it from a different angular perspective, right? So yeah. So we'll I'll make sure that you get this link. Is there a time when your matrix can be shared more widely?
Well, it's basically what do you mean with sharing? I mean sharing among this group.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, I can put the link on the chat here.
Yes.
Okay.
Please don't share it beyond that. Don't publish, please, or anything, because right now this is really unpolished thing with a lot of notes in there and remarks that are just about how do we contact whom and who do we have to ask and so that's really not for posting it anywhere. And it will be released probably around May when the feasibility report that I'm doing for the European Union is going to be published. Maybe it's going to be later. It depends on how fast the European Union is. It depends on how fast we are. But that's the plan at this point.
Sweet. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. That's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
No way. No need to. It's my pleasure. It was great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I know I snagged you off the.
You send me the link?
Yeah, I'll send you the link right now. I'll just let me.
All right.
Yeah. Actually, I think I did send it to you, but I'll send it to you again. All right. So here's the link for the chat for people here. Here's that link. So here's the link to Henning's thing, and then I will send.
Oh, and if you find some cell that you find is wrong, then let me know in any column.
I think this one here, and I will send this now to you, Henning. But I'll stop screen sharing. Okay.
Okay, I say goodbye because I am gonna prepare my slides now. For tomorrow, explaining the mysteries of blockchain. I got official allowance from Constance to do a dance expression of blockchains.
Ooh,
so I'll be thinking about that too. Yeah.
This is you're talking about a physically interpretive dance?
Yes.
Blockchain flows like a river.
I'm not quite sure yet what I'm gonna do, but I'll certainly give it some thought.
The document needs a share permission for if you have a link.
It needs permission?
Yeah. Well, I clicked on the link and it says I need permission.
All right.
I requested for permission as well.
Okay, so request it, please, or let Greg give me the email addresses and I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Hope to spend some more time with you soon.
Awesome, guys.
Bye.
Ciao.
Yeah. What the hell is going on?
We hear you.
Okay, sorry. It looks like there was an iTunes thing was playing at the same time that Henning and I were talking. That was weird. Okay, so the link for the
I have a couple questions that we had sort of a side chat going on. So regarding the phlogiston and the transaction fees, do I understand that the RChain co-op will decide how those transaction fees are split, say between node operators and other stakeholders? And what is the value proposition to the large angel investors who might become involved in this project?
Okay, yeah, so those are all great questions. First of all, the Casper protocol is pretty constrained in terms of the way the fee structure is for validator operators. So that fee structure is constrained by pressures on the protocol to make it work. So no, I mean, in some sense, no, RChain co-op is not determining that. That's determined more by the protocol. However, since RChain co-op is implementing the protocol, there's an indirect way in which there is an influence there. But again, the point is, if the community decided that RChain co-op was abusing the fee structure, then all that has to happen is that en masse they all become members, and then change the way that happens.
Yeah, of course, ultimately users can vote with their feet and attach to the node of their choice, and that, or networks of their choice.
Exactly, you're right. But
I really want to know whether transaction fees are part of what the large investors would dip into.
And no, the large investors are not investing in RChain co-op directly. They are investing in RChain incubator. So again, let's go over the structure. Let me draw it out so that we.
I do want to come back in a moment also to phlogiston versus fees versus tokens, and to tease that apart a little bit better.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. So. All right. So what we're talking about here is. I think we have. I'm about to run out of power, and I'm not in a place where I can plug in, so I may have to. I'm not sure what to do about that. Okay, so I'm gonna do screen share now, and let's draw this. So there's that. Oh, of course. All right. So can you see the screen here? So here's RChain incubator. Okay. So what lives inside here are going to be things like something I'll call SODAP, right? So SODAP is the social DAP, right? And another one would be that we were talking, Ed and Evneet and Joseph and I were talking about, is Roots. Okay, so Roots provides a bunch of utilities, from name services to wallets and things that are necessary for the ecosystem to function properly, right? Another one that seems really obvious is a goods and services market. Another one that I've been in talks with from someone who has a major contract with Match.com is a decentralized dating service. Okay, so these are the kinds of things that live in the RChain incubator. For all of these things to work, there has to be something else, which is RChain co-op. Right, they're all running on RChain, so there has to be an RChain co-op. Okay, so then we have over here Auto Capital. So capital flows from RChain co-op. Sorry. the new OmniGraffle is really, I'm still learning it. Okay, so capital flows from auto capital investment to RChain Incubator, right? And then RChain Incubator then distributes the funds out to a variety of the internal applications, but also they distribute the funds out to RChain Co-op. So in the first round of funding, the thought is that something like 70% of the funding goes to RChain Co-op as essentially what's necessary to get what's necessary to get the ecosystem up and running. So let me fix this a little bit. Okay, so let me go. Okay, so and here, and here, and so like this. Sorry, I probably shouldn't fixate on this, but I am.
No, we get the idea. And let me just add a few other comments if you don't mind, Greg. So
yeah, go for it.
Eventually, of course, other applications can build completely independent of all this on top of RChain, and standalone companies can be formed. And then in addition, as the incubator would, these companies would spin out of the incubation period. And so, for example, maybe there's a roots.com that would become its own entity ultimately.
Correct.
Be standing on its own merits.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the idea. So in fact, that's one of the major milestones is a spin out, right? So we start with these things, and their principal aim is to become their own profit and loss centers, right? So these things, make money, and that's how they remain focused. So RChain Co-op can be completely focused on providing the RChain infrastructure, and there's an ecosystem of things already kickstarted that are putting pressure on RChain Co-op and constraining it, right? So that's the mechanism, and so fees that are collected here are collected here and given as so if each of these entities are effectively one member, one vote, in RChain Co-op, then there are rebates that go out depending upon their use of the RChain Co-op. Right, if these things become members of the co-op, which is a possibility, right, then they can get rebates. But it's a single entity, and so they're a single member, right? They can't. So it solves a lot of things to go this route. Is that making sense, Ian?
Just wanted to make a comment. I've been assuming, unless someone can make a case otherwise, that there's just one class of membership for RChain Co-op. So, John Doe and SODAP have the same rights and privileges as members of RChain Co-op.
Yeah. I can't. I mean, I was thinking through the multiple membership type idea, and it's complicated. It makes my head hurt.
Right. So, everything I've read recommends against having multiple classes of membership.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So hopefully this answers your question. So Ian, this has been a concern of yours all along. So are we addressing it?
Yeah, this is good. And about how many members do you figure we're going to have?
I mean, if this takes off, we could have, a lot of members, right? I mean, again, because remember, it's one member, one vote. And if groups and individuals are, treated the same, well, there's 2 to the n groups out of any collection of individuals, right? Collection of n individuals. So the membership could, it has the potential to be ridiculously large.
Let me ask this question first. What kind of membership are you voting are you referring, Ian? For a board member, the way co-op works, right? So you do voting only for the board members, right? And I don't think we have still yet a number how many board members we want in our co-op, right? It could be 11, it could be 9, it could be 21, whatever the number is, right?
No, different co-ops have different voting structures. So there are lots and lots of co-ops that are strongly oriented towards democratic principles, in which case it's 1 member, 1 vote. So it's not you don't have this special class of board members that vote.
Yeah, so I think what I meant was voting for board members or the directions the way co-op wants to go, right? So usually board members decide. You pick up the members pick up the board member, and then board member decide with the executive committee or the people who are running the co-op. They decide the directions they want to go, and then they decide how to distribute all the dividends and whatnot, right?
Yeah, but
and
here
the fees and everything.
Yeah, but here the point that Ed was making is that decision is completely automatic, right? It can be codified as a smart contract running on RChain, right?
Right.
So again, it's not the same kind of structure as other capitalistic concerns, right? This is one where that follows the REI model. That's the idea. It follows REI. So it's it's completely, it's totally calculated, right? It's not at the discretion.
Yeah. So what just so people are aware, in the co-op Slack channel, I sent a pointer to bylaws that look almost exactly like the REI bylaws, and I just changed the name to RChain Co-op basically. Please make comments in that Slack channel to say no REI. I didn't even read it carefully, but like REI may have 20 board members, and no, we want only 10 or whatever.
Yeah. So there's about 20 minutes left. I'm going to run out of power really soon. I want to address 2 more things really quickly, just to get them, in people's brains and then thinking about them. So as you can see, Rick Dudley is messaging me because his consultancy is working. They would like to be engaged in the process of an issuance and distribution for the RCoin Zero coin redemption idea. So Nevni, regardless of whether or not we do a redemption process or we do a coin, sort of half of a coin split, which was your thinking or a proposal that you were exploring with us, we still have to do an issuance and distribution regardless. And so someone quite cleverly brought up the idea of doing that on the Ethereum network rather than on the Omni layer of the Bitcoin blockchain. So I was initially quite concerned about the logistics of this. And I sat down with Vlad and Rick and Ryan Singer, and we walked through the logistics, the operational details of this. And I am convinced that this is more than doable, that it won't be much more of a headache than doing it via Omni. And Rick would like to be able to participate in that kind of essentially as a neutral third party. It would I think that's a win, because we get someone who's experienced with this thing and has doesn't have a horse in this race. And I also I talked over kind of the social dynamics, and I think the people who are invested in scenario that were more interested in RChain are more likely to be savvy about Ethereum. And so moving in this direction is likely to be, or the probability is that that's going to be the that's going to be the that's going to be the sector of the market that has that was interested in RChain to begin with. So there's a good alignment there. So I'd like people to think about what.
Did we lose Greg?
Thanks to battery power.
Looks like it.
Hey, I can partially answer Patrick's question about how does one get involved in the incubator, but at this point it's still at the concept stage. Greg and I are going to meet with Auto Capital probably early next week and talk about the concept of the incubator in more detail. I'm planning on working on a pitch deck in the coming weeks. I'm keeping a list of these types of kind of projects and startups that would make sense to me as doing early. Oh, Greg, are you back?
Yeah, I switched. I switched to my phone. My phone is also about to die. So.
Oh, awesome! I was answering Patrick McGuire's question about how does one get involved in RChain Incubator, and I think just being very active on Slack right now is the way to do it, and it's still very concept stage. But you're welcome to send me an email as well. Ed at LivelyGig, if you have any particular ideas, or just message me on Slack too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And just one more question real quick while I have your attention. Well, is Auto Capital the sole fund of this incubator, or is it possible that, I mean, I'm sure, I guess you're still conceptualizing it, but is it possible that there could be other funding sources?
It is possible. It's more than possible. It's likely.
All right, that's good news.
Yeah, it's very good news.
I think it makes sense for a particular raise that there be a lead investor to just coordinate things like terms. And so I imagine Auto Capital wants to be that lead investor, but anything's open. There's been no signed agreements yet.
Yeah. So. Yeah, because I mean, yeah. There are details that we're still negotiating. So that's why we haven't signed. Okay. Unfortunately, I lost power, and so I can't show you the other stuff. But I've how do I say this? We need logo for the release of the RChain architecture document and other materials. We also need logo for promoting the Hangout and other things. So rather than wait on this and hire someone, I figure we can work something else out. But I've put some ideas together, and I would love for feedback on that. If people think it's just too crappy, then I guess we'll plunk down some money for a designer. But right now, I'm not particularly averse to something that's very, very simple. So take a look and see if that passes muster, or if you have some other alternatives or ideas that you think work.
I could get a logo turned around pretty quickly. I mean, some ideas if you wanted. My brother runs a graphic design company, and I often send him, ideas, and he. I mean, if we wanted some options, I'm sure I could get something like that turned around pretty quick.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, we need this as ASAP, right? We're kind of.
Is your initial logo? Sorry, is your initial logo design still on the table? The head with the ponytail wrapped into an arrow.
Oh, that was for Rolang. That wasn't for RChain. The RChain idea that I had was simply to further idealize the DNA double helix thing. by having two. If you take two R's and you flip them and stack them, then they literally form a chain. It's like it's a natural chain. And if you look at it, if you kind of look at it, you know, without focusing on the letter aspect, then you can easily see that it's an idealized double helix. So that was the basic construction that I came up with today during a lull in some of the session work we were doing here at the Koala workshops. So take a look at that idea and see if maybe there's potentially that we could bring out that kind of DNA thing without making it too. I mean, I don't think it should be front and center, but or what I was trying to do, I don't know what other people's opinions are, but I was trying to do was to not make the DNA thing be front and center, but more of a hint, more of a a flavor that people might associate, and then that would this kind of lifelike building blocks. That's the essence of scaling.
Greg, I got a bird brain idea. I was talking to Jim Weitzcarver, and he was literally going over a logo about the time I'm visualizing a logo I'm trying to create, and I think it's good content because like I've kind of battled GIMP. I guess I might have to go back to Photoshop, but it's like it'd be great to have like a competition where people could create the logos, but maybe start it off with some kind of like a quick introductory on how to create logos, and then maybe everybody can kind of come to the table and we could gamify this a little bit, and then you can choose. That was just an idea.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, if you want to organize it, just go for it. Why don't you organize the whole effort? I mean, basically, I just think we need to be super fast here. I mean, not careless, not reckless, but efficient and focused. That's the way I think about it. My phone is now about to die, so I am actually going to ring off, and I will.
One more final question right before you guys go. In yesterday's hangout with 701, you discussed a finalization hangout for the token redemption proposal. Can I just get like a confirmation on what time would be good on Saturday for everybody? Or if you wanted to reschedule or create some sort of other.
I don't think I can do Saturday because I think I'm in the air flying back. If we said Saturday, then I made a mistake. It would have to be Sunday at the earliest because I'm flying back from Nairobi to Seattle on Saturday.
Okay, I have no problem. Then I'll just tag you in Slack and we'll just figure it out. But
yeah,
all right.
Perfect. Okay, guys, I really have to get off because I'm just going to be kicked off by lack of juice. Let's keep it moving this forward. It's really awesome.
Thanks, Greg. So I guess right now RChain is operating without funding or self-funding.
Yeah, self-funding, a little bit here, a little bit there, but yeah, like this logo thing, it'd be great to have funding and throw some to 99 Designs or whoever. And
well, I mean, shouldn't we have a bounty budget or something?
It's the source of funds that's the concern. Yeah.
Well, I mean, bounties. I mean, there's always RChain 0. I mean, we can.
Yeah, as soon as that. Yeah, that's right. As soon as that token's created, then we can start giving out RChain 0s.
We can get coupons now for RChain 2 tokens, right?
Actually, that's not a bad idea. If I think about how Factum started 2 years ago, they just started with a very simple spreadsheet tracking community involvement credits. Right. That eventually became.
Yeah, we have a process in Divi for doing that precise thing.
Jim, this is what I was going back to in the Slack is if we just do that effort and record it accordingly, then we can just call back to that whenever if we decide that rewards are necessary, even if It's just a matter of right now just moving as effectively as possible and then track your work. So it'll just all be there.
Hey, gentlemen, what do you think about a dual-edged sword, a competition on how to create a logo? It could be 5-10 minute video, 15-minute, where the best person comes up with how to create a logo video for content. I think, Patrick, you got a leg up on the gamification side and how to utilize that to let it rise to the top by class. But
yeah, but it's super important right now. Like Greg said, just for swiftness. Didn't DC, he says he already has his brother in the network. So my personal perspective would be go to him, get the rough drafts to him quickly, have him send off for his brother to finalize. If he can send back that within a day, then we just come to consensus with that. And if the logo needs to be changed moving forward after that, then we can go through the whole governance thing. But I do think swiftness right now is just the most important.
Yeah, you can change a logo at any time. My point is that you could create a system for, you could have somebody makes a video to show people how to make their own logos and let the creativity speak for itself. And at the same time, you could also vote on the best logo. I mean, yeah, you can come up with one because of quickness, but
yeah, I think Patrick's saying that's not a swift process, and I would agree. Yeah, there's 99 Designs, Fiverr, friends that are already professional graphic artists that can turn these things around really quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And to that point, Ed, do you want a landing page up or homepage for RChain.coop? Just maybe saying, hey, this is RChain and directing to the token redemption proposal and the Slack for Hangouts?
I have no objection to that. Just so everyone knows, kind of my intention is to help get RChain Co-op along, and then I want to focus more of my attention on the incubator and lively gig side of the thing. So yeah, and I think Greg too wants all of this to be community driven and just to let people take the initiative. I guess I would caution just about one thing, and I've talked to Ian a bit. He and I are on the same page here. Is sort of the official official or blessed message from RChain Co-op has to be distinct and clear what that is versus community ideas. And I think we learned that from looking at scenario where there was a lot of confusion about where someone said something and it wasn't clear at all whether they were speaking for scenario officially or not. And so we'd want to avoid that confusion, I think, on RChain Co-op.
Yeah, okay. That's great feedback. So I think how that could apply to, if there was a landing page made is just straight up for navigation purposes. No opinions, no anything, just like a funnel source for where to go next, I think would be just simple and swift.
Yeah, I have no objection to that. And it's one of these things, I think, as people contribute, more and more trust is extended, right? Ian, remind us what the mechanism for the page is at a WordPress site, and I apologize, I just don't remember what you set up.
Yeah, so there's a WordPress site. Right now, it's just like something that is an onboarding page for the Slack. But we can put up a front page. We're ready to go with an announcements page. Each announcement is a blog post. And we're talking about some facility for guest bloggers to jump on and say what attracted them to RChain or to introduce themselves. So that is just about ready now.
And that's perfect. And that also keeps the if it's a guest post, it keeps that clear distinction. So you're speaking individually as opposed to on behalf of.
Right. So announcements, you'll be able to see if the authorship is from Greg or whoever.
All right, guys, I'm going to cut this recording. Is that okay? So we can just have an open discussion?
Yeah, please.